Is good, guys. Back at it again with another Dokkan video. Oh, freak! No, my, cut. This is Clash Royale. I'm so used to saying Dokkan because of nanogenics. But anyways, we're back. We are back. This video is gonna be a little different. Instead of just doing battles, we're gonna start off with some tips. I've met a lot of people having trouble in lower arenas and lower leagues when it comes to Path of Legends and stuff like that, having trouble like making decks and being consistent and stuff like that. It seems like a lot of people can like make a deck that will work and then push a lot of trophies and then just be stuck at a certain spot instead of like actually progressively climbing. I don't know why I'm saying that when I'm literally been stuck at this trophy range in forever. But I mean, I haven't pushed, so it's because I haven't played trophies. That's why I haven't gone to legendary. But maybe when I put the time in, I can get back up here. I mean, get up here. Haven't been there. But anyways, yeah. So for decks, I mean, there's a couple components, like a couple things. I mean, that like I feel like all decks should have, which makes like a good solid deck. I mean, some people are smoking that pack and like they don't run anything. Like, I mean, no buildings, or maybe like half the deck is spells. I once had a deck like that actually. Half was spells and like 2 buildings. It was actually insane. Maybe I'll show that at the end. It was just a super funny deck to use, especially when you got the win, because like the deck had literally one troop, I believe, in the deck. Yeah, it was one troop. It was like a little prince deck with like graveyard, fireball, zap, arrows, and then like a hidden Tesla with Inferno Tower and freeze. It was kind of like an insult. I don't know, but it was a funny deck to use. I actually got a couple wins off of it, but that was like back then. But anyways, starting off with the tips. I mean, I feel all decks, like getting right into the thick of it. I feel all decks should have at least 1 to 2 spells. It's up to you, honestly. I typically always use Fireball, Zap. Sometimes I have alternated to like Lightning or Arrows. Never Rocket because I'm not gay. But anyways, it's up to you, honestly. It depends as well what your main like focus of the deck. Like, so for the first component we just talked about are spells, obviously. But obviously it matters a lot, like what is your main like win condition, what is going to win you games. Like say like obviously if you look at a golem deck, the golem is like the main push. They push off of the golem and that's usually their main win condition. Or like say a goblin barrel spam deck or something like that, or a hog cycle. Like obviously the hogs is going to be the thing, or if they can cycle to like a spell, you know, or something else. Like Royal Giant is obviously the win condition of his decks, Royal Giant decks. So it's up to you. You always have to have like a focus, like what is your win condition, what spells are you using. I recommend always use 1 to 2 spells. Stay away from Rocket. If you use Rocket, you should actually uninstall the game. I mean, honestly, like if we're just talking about spells just by themselves, I mean, Fireball, Zap, Arrows, those are like the top 3, I would say. I mean, also underrated ones would be like a Snowball. I've seen this one crack addict use Snowball against Goblin Barrels, and actually does really nice to counter them, not gonna lie. And then of course, like you can try to use Lightning depending on your pushes, because I've seen Lightning go with balloon players, so it just depends. If anything, just drop a comment on like what you use, and I can like try my best to give you better advice. Poison's a good spell too. I would say that's a good like A-tier spell. Poison, Lightning. Freeze is a little nasty, not gonna lie, but the most potent I've ever seen freeze being played is when you save it towards the like last minute or like your last push or whatever, and they still don't know you have it, so you can drop it on them and guarantee you that tower for the win or whatever scenario you're in. Earthquake, don't use Earthquake, and that's just me. Only people that are using Earthquake are usually Hog Cycle players, and if you're playing Hog Cycle, then you should like probably just kill your another good spell I would say is Rage. Okay, this is Rage. Rage is a good spell, kinda. It depends on your deck, honestly. In this deck I have Lumberjack, who's literally just is kind of like a mini Rage, kinda. Well, I mean, he has Rage with him when he dies and then he drops it. It's kind of the win condition for my deck right here. It's the Lumberjack front and then the E-Barbs behind him, so when he dies he just makes these guys go crazy. But I mean, for spells, yeah, it's mostly it. I mean, I hardly ever see clone get used, but the few times I do see it be used, it's like the weirdest, craziest decks I've ever seen, and I just get rolled with them, like Clone, Minion Horde, or like Skeleton Army, or like like some of the wildest combos I've seen. Or like they try to do it with the giant skeletons, very common. I've seen people try to use Clone with. Usually it doesn't. It's like hard to pull it off because it's just so easy to counter it. Honestly, it just depends who you're going against, like what arena you're in. The higher you go, the more easier it is for them to be able to counter you and how to deal with it. But if you're in lower arenas, you can probably take advantage of it and abuse it and probably get away with it. Honestly, because lower players will probably just freak out and like, oh gosh, 2 giant skeletons or whatever, and you could just pop off or whatever, nut all over their face. But Tornado is pretty good, honestly, too. It's very well for like dragging troops to your King Tower to get that free King activation. But honestly, besides that, I mean, unless you're using like a Tornado combination with the Baby Dragon and a Graveyard deck or something, like to bring everyone to the center of a tower, like a Magic Archer or something, or a Baby Dragon, I would say just don't use it. It's just not a good card unless you're obviously using it for like a combo. But besides that, honestly, you could also combine it with like Executioner and Bowler. I've seen that before with Tornado. Plus like what do you call it? What did I just talk about? Oh, I mean, honestly, Mega Knight too, because he's Splash. But I mean, it's a little harder to get it off because he's so much Elixir. Also, if you use Mega Knight, I think just reevaluate your life decisions. I think it's time to just hop off of Clash Royale and start playing Farmville. That's just my opinion, though. Like, in all honesty, just my opinion. But yeah. Anyways, enough of spells. That's enough of that. Yeah, just have 1 or 2 spells. Have spells in your deck. Know your win condition. Third one, I would say, very important. Have a tower. Like, I can't say this enough now, especially with now the recent seasons have been coming out with like the buffs to Hog Cycle becoming more popular than ever. Royal Giant also being buffed kind of with the combo with the Evil Bomber and just other stuff like that. Like, I mean, most win conditions, people are gonna hop off of a tower targeting unit, like, Giant, Royal Giant, Electro Giant, Hog Rider, whatever, and tower is just gonna always help you counter it. I mean, I've always ran a tower in my deck. Very rarely run 2. I mean, it just depends up to you how your deck is played. If you're playing more, and then I guess, yeah, you have a small PP and you can run like 3 towers, I guess. But I mean, yeah, I think 1 would be enough. In terms of like what are the best towers, it's kind of funny because before the Titan Tesla actually got this evolution, I already had it at my number 1 spot for towers because it's just how good it was, effective is compared to like all their towers. Like the only one I would say was the closest to it would be the Bomb Tower. But besides that, I mean, like Inferno Tower, it's just kind of situational. It gets killed a lot of times. It's a very high risk, like all right payoff type of thing. And then the cannon, it's decent. It dies too quickly, which makes sense because it's throwing 3 elixir, but it just doesn't get the job done enough. And I mean, besides that, I mean, you could be like a Tombstone player or a Goblin Cage player. That's actually kind of good, not gonna lie. I have seen Goblin Cages be very effective for like defense and counter pushing and stuff like that because the Goblin can just go, slap some cheeks up when he gets to the opposite side. But I typically don't use them. I never used this card to begin with. I've just never been a big fan of it, especially when it came out. But Tombstone, I used it for a little bit. But after I started using the Tesla again, I don't know. It can counter air, like Lava Hound, Balloon, anything literally in there, like Baby Dragons, Skeleton Baby Dragons. Also could help in the floor. It fully counters a Hog Rider. Even with a push, if they put like an Ice Spirit or something, you could just put a Tesla, get enough time to allow maybe 1 hit, or if you support the defense with somebody else, then it usually counters their whole like small push or whatever if they're doing a Hog Rider. It's just great for dragging troops too. It's a little harder now. I believe it got nerfed. I believe they buffed. I don't remember if they buffed the Firecracker's range, but back then it was super easy for me to get King activations while putting this thing down. It's a little tougher now with the placement you got to do to get it off, but it's still possible. It's just overall a good card. I mean, counters ground and air, and it's only 4 elixir compared to Cannon or Inferno Towers, like right in the middle. And that's why I said the only like good defense card besides it was the Bomb Tower, because it's the same elixir. It actually very well counters most ground units. The thing that just sucks about it is just it doesn't hit air, so you're kind of like left in the dirt if you don't have any. If you're gonna run bomb tower, make sure you have good air defense, like good air troops, like I don't know, executioner or I wouldn't say wizard because wizard's kind of dookie. Not gonna lie, if you use wizard, I mean, good luck to you. I mean, for the elixir, what I think is he's just not worth it. I love wizard though. You know, wizard could any day of the week could fill me up. But anyways, besides that, I mean, besides those three things, the fourth thing would be like have a good troops to fill in spots that can be meant for like flex, kind of like this guy right here. In my opinion, one of the best cards in the game. I love this card. I literally came back to the game and this guy was the newest champion and fall in love with him ever since. Wait, actually, I probably shouldn't say that. He looks kind of underaged. Anyways, he's very good defensively because with the Guardian, this freaking hot dude, bro, he just comes in and just slaps everybody up, and then you can turn into a counter push, and it's so hot. That's a good example of like a counter or like a flex card that could just be good on defense and then use it to switch up the tempo and go to an attack. That's just how I play though. I mainly play with that like very aggressive play style, having troops that can defend and transition to attack, just like Dark Prince. Like he's very good defensively, but then he can just start rushing in once he survives the defense. I could pair him up with one of these guys, or this guy. Barbs are kind of like the same thing. I use my barbs for flex because they're very good in defense when countering like giants right up close, or even Mega Knight. If you place it right, you can counter Mega Knight pretty easily. If you place it right, of course. If you don't, you might get screwed over. You just gotta be careful with that. And then obviously once they kill the defense, they just start running down to the paths, and you can start a counter attack. And with this deck, I love just splitting pushes, especially with the barbs. That's usually my playstyle if the main Blitzkrieg doesn't work with me. But like I said, it just depends on what deck you're using. If you're using like say like Royal Giant right here, like a good transition cards would be like this guy, and this guy. Mini Pack could just good on defense. Then he could go into the attack once he's done killing whoever. Or it's just a good defensive card. If you just slap him on something, he just hits it like a Mega Knight. Like they drop a whole 7 elixir Mega Knight card. You just drop a Mini P.E.K.K.A. and pretty much full counters it, as long as it's on your side. If it's on the other side, then I don't know what you're doing. But I mean, besides that, I think with those 4 components, I think it's mainly it. Like those 4 main things to think about with spells, towers, knowing your win condition, and then having good flex cards to fill in your gaps. And besides that, I mean, 5th, I guess just have legendaries and champions. I guess that's a good one. Champions wise, it depends on your deck. Like I said before, it just depends what winning condition you have. Like my win condition here is these dudes, so this is a great combo with them because they can play good defensively, then go to the attack. But say you're playing something way more defensively, you can use like what's his name? Forget his name. The other champion, the one dude with the mustache, right? Does he have a mustache actually? Yeah, this guy, the beard, the monk. He's a good defensive guy. And you can even turn it to an attack, kinda. I've seen this guy get used quite a bit. This guy is kind of, I think he got buffed actually last patch, but I don't like him that much. And Archer Queen's pretty nasty if you can get the ability off without them noticing. Honestly, Mighty Miner, I hardly see this guy ever cook. If you're using this guy, good luck to you. I mean, I've never seen this man actually like pull off like a double tower or like even a single tower most times. Like if they let you get a tower with the Mighty Miner, then they actually have brain rot. I don't know what to say. Like this guy isn't that good, honestly. He's cool. He's a cool card, not gonna lie. He's a cool concept. It's just not very effective. It's not that hard to counter him either. And yeah, just know what legendaries you're using. Legendaries not to use, I would say for sure would be this guy. Just don't use this guy. If you use this guy, you have a small penis. Anyways, but I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it for the 5 things. Just have a tower, have spells, win condition, know your win condition, having good cards to fill the gaps, to work with your win condition, combo with it, just have good synergy and chemistry with your deck. And then that 5th one, yeah, just make sure you know what champions and legendaries to use in your deck. I mean, you don't even need champions and legendaries. It just helps a lot because a lot of them are good. It just depends what your deck is and how you play the game. But yeah, besides that, I think that's it. Honestly, I thought I was going to be able to get a match in, but it's already about to be 15 minutes. So until next time, later, guys.